What's going on, guys? Good morning. Welcome back to United View. Hope everyone is doing very well. I wanted to start with some energy. I wanted to start with some positivity. I wanted to start with, you always try and start your streams or your shows with a bit of, what's going on, guys? Good morning. Welcome back to United View. But it is difficult after yesterday's game. It is tough. Obviously, it's the day after, not the night before, but the afternoon before. It's the day after the Manchester derby. Of course, we've got plenty to get into today. I really enjoy these shows, even though we've got some big conversations to have today. Actually, I think, but I enjoy these shows because they're a little bit different from our regular morning shows. They're just you and I. They're quite intimate, but also we get the reaction from all of the guys outside of the Etihad yesterday. We get the reaction of you guys. We get your comments up on the screen. We talk about Eric Ten Hag quotes. We talk about stories that have happened after the game as well. We get into a lot, and that's why I really enjoy these day after streams when we talk about the game. So there's plenty to get into this morning. Be sure to smash a like on the like button as always, guys. Be sure to subscribe, bottom right hand corner too. Remember, you can vote for us in the Football Content Awards. The links are in the video description. I think we're up for 3 awards in 3 categories. Voting shuts a week yesterday. You've got 6 days, count them, 6 days, and I've got a United pen this morning. I don't know if you can see that. There you go. You've got 6 days to vote for us in the Football Content Awards. So you can do that by clicking the link in the video description. It's also the pinned comment in the live chat. I don't know how many times you can vote for us. I think there's multiple. I think you can spam the votes. I think you can do that. So if you haven't already, be sure to vote for this there. You can also join us in the UV Members Club by clicking the link in the video description. You get your badges, you get your emojis, and you get your exclusive members-only content. You can put your emojis in the chat right now. You've got the flex emoji, the KG emoji, Marcel's porridge. Even I've got an emoji, and more emojis coming soon. It's got to be a Josh emoji, right? I feel like there has to be a Josh emoji soon. I know there's a Mr. Phelan emoji, but they're separate people. They're not the same person. So get your emojis in the chat as well. Before we do get into some quotes from Eric Ten Hag, because what we're going to talk about today, just to give you a little bit of an outline of what we're going to talk about this morning, folks. We're going to talk a bit about Eric Ten Hag, what he said after the game, his reaction, his quotes. We're going to hear from Flex outside of the Etihad yesterday, what he thought about the game. I really want to get into the Cristiano Ronaldo discussion because Ronaldo's been a big topic after the game. Eric Ten Hag saying he didn't bring him on out of respect for Ronaldo's career. Then you had Roy Keane go off on Sky Sports saying that Manchester United have been showing a ton of disrespect to Cristiano Ronaldo by keeping him on the bench and they should have let him go. So we're going to get into that. I'll give my thoughts on that too. Got to talk about Rafael Varane. Of course, he came off in the first half yesterday. We've got a bit of an update on his fitness and a possible ankle injury. We're going to hear from Marcel, DJ. We're going to talk about Anthony Martial, of course, returned from injury. 2 goals for him. Possibly the only positive coming out yesterday. We're going to hear from Faz. We're going to talk about how Manchester United didn't handle Erling Haaland, particularly when it comes to set pieces. What happened there? Why was Christian Eriksen marking Erling Haaland from a corner? Ten Hag did talk about that too. Going to have a little bit of a clip from the player ratings, and we're going to talk about Casemiro as well because the Casemiro-McTominay debate has really started to open up a lot after yesterday's performance too. So plenty to come this morning. Shout out to Sakib already as a new member of the UV Members Club. Welcome, Sakib. As I mentioned, you can join the UV Members Club. Tabaslol, big up the mods, and big up Tabaslol, the member, says the pen is back. Yes, we're getting serious this morning. I've got the pen in my hand, and we're going to talk some serious stuff. So let's get into what Eric Ten Hag said after the game yesterday. There's plenty of quotes to get into. Of course, Manchester United lost 6-3 in the Manchester derby. Really pitiful, poor, timid, nervous, and just bad performance. It was a real flashback to last season. It was a real flashback to that game against Brentford. And I kind of agree with what Ten Hag was saying after the game, where obviously the comparisons would be made between Eric Ten Hag and between Brentford, and between the Manchester City game, because I think that the discussion would be, you were 4-0 down at halftime in that game, 4-0 down once again. Is this going to be, is that a concern that it's kind of a repeat offence, as it were? And he said it was somewhat of a different experience, and I do agree with that because obviously better quality, better opposition, and maybe that's what he means by that. But it was still the fact that we're just coming into October now, and it's already the second time we've been 4-0 down at half time. It's alarming. It has to be nothing but alarming. It has to be concerning. And I mentioned at the end of my fan view yesterday that I wouldn't want to be in Eric Ten Hag's shoes. Because how do you, just when you think you've got something figured out, or just when you think, okay, right, I found somewhat of a winning formula here, I found a starting 11 that I can trust, just when you think you've got that, up in smoke once again and back to the drawing board. So this is what Ten Hag had to say after the game. He said, quote, "I'm surprised why we didn't bring it on the pitch. I have seen a different team spirit and we did not look convinced. I have to talk to my players and find out why. I will show the team tomorrow we could have been on the front foot. In the first goal, we won the ball and could have created a chance and gave it away. That is unacceptable." And just to pick on that point, by the way, of what Erik Ten Hag is saying there, I was staggered in that first half. I mean, I've said it on the match for you a million times, but I would love to know the stats in that first half of how much distance United covered on the pitch. But most importantly, I would love to know how many successful passes we made in that first half, because I can't recall a 45 minutes where Manchester United gave the ball away so much in that first half. It was appalling. It was appalling. If you're going to play on the counter-attack, and your whole point is when they make a mistake or we win the ball back, our move's going to be 3-4 passes, goal, that's it, and it's going to be direct. You have to be able then to pass the ball to your teammate. They couldn't do it. Even at one point, I think Rashford's kind of in, I want to say the centre circle, or just on the halfway line. It's a simple pass to Malacia. He just completely scuffs the pass, and Malacia gives away a foul, and it's a booking. Sancho gave the ball away. Eriksen gave the ball away. Bruno gave the ball away. It literally felt like, particularly in that 45 minutes, but for the majority of the game, but for that 45 minutes, they could not pass the ball. They could not pass the ball. And to Ten Hag's point, I mean, if you're going to give the ball away every 5 seconds, that pressure's relentless anyway at the Etihad. They come, City attacking waves over and over and over and over and over again. And if you're just going to give the ball away every time you get it because you're nervous or because you can't handle pressure, then what do you expect? You get a result like that. You go down at halftime 4-0, you get what you deserve. You know, this isn't, and maybe against a lesser side, you maybe get away with it. Not so much in the Premier League nowadays, because everyone's good. But certainly against Man City, you don't get away with it. You don't. We got a warning in the first, minute, when they should have scored anyway. De Gea makes a save, and there's a couple of blocks, and I thought they were going to score anyway. That should have been a warning of, okay, we've started slow, wake up. And they didn't. They did not wake up. They cowered down. You could tell from the opening minute, you could just tell body language. Every single player was not up for it. There was no fight. There was no aggression. There was nothing. It was timidness. It was like, as a fan, you're watching it, you knew we'd already lost. The players knew that they'd already lost. And they gave a side that, make no mistake, City are world class. And they were excellent yesterday. But we gave them way too much respect. A type and level of respect that shouldn't be there in a derby or any Premier League game, to be honest. And it was awful. It was absolutely awful. And it was a real major step back. And as Ten Hag says, quote, "It's quite simple. It's a lack of belief. When you don't believe on the pitch that you can't win games, that is unacceptable. We get undisciplined at following rules and you get hammered. That's what happened today." And I did speak about that too during the match view, that Erik Ten Hag, and this is what will be so disappointing to him, Erik Ten Hag, after those big results against Liverpool and against Arsenal and even those away games against Leicester and Southampton, he said in his programme notes, he said in press conferences, he said in interviews, when he was always asked, "Oh, how have you turned it around? How have you managed to turn it around? You know, there was a side there that was uninterested and they weren't running and they weren't doing anything and there was no quality. How have you turned it around?" And he said, "It's belief, and you're putting in effort. You're trying 110%. That's it. It's no magical formula. It's nothing that's revolutionary. It's no master tactics." Yeah, he tweaked things, and yes, we played a little bit deeper and we were playing on the counter-attack, but ultimately, it was belief. It was belief. It was attitude. And it's those same key terms, belief, attitude, aggression, that we were praising so much for weeks for Manchester United, that were non-existent yesterday. No belief. No passion, no attitude, no aggression, nothing. Passive is what it was. Pitiful, toothless. It was the antithesis of all of those positive things we spoke about of Manchester United. If you step onto a football field in any game and you lack belief, you're going to lose, especially in a Manchester derby. And as Ten Hag said, that's unacceptable. And the concerning thing for me is that it's one or the other with Manchester They either have aggression or they just don't. Nothing. Absolute nothing. And as Ten Hag said, it's unacceptable. Unacceptable. And it's not good enough. I would have been fine, honestly. I'd have been fine coming out of yesterday's game. If we'd have lost yesterday's game, and of course we did, but if we'd have lost yesterday's game, but it was a case of, you know what, we played okay. We really put in a fight. City are just a better side. They're further in their progression than us. Obviously, Pep's been there for, 6 years at this point. They understand how to play. They've got better players. They've won the league however many out of the last 6 years. Was it 4 out of the last 6 years? Of course, they're better than us. But if we'd have put in a shift, if we'd have put in effort, if we'd have showed some desire, some aggression, I'd have said, fair enough. You can't fault the players. That's the disappointing thing. I look at the Arsenal fans after we defeated them at Old Trafford. And they came out of that game and they said, you know what? Yeah, we lost, but I saw positives there. You know, it's disappointing we lost, but I feel pretty good still because I saw something there that I can latch onto. I saw nothing that I can latch onto yesterday. I just saw echoes of the past, and those echoes are disturbing because those echoes led to a really poor season last season. And I felt like I've seen that Manchester derby too many times over the past, decade? How many times have we seen those Manchester derbies where, yeah, we've got a decent record in recent years at the Etihad, but I still remember those games when you go there and just after 20, 30 minutes, you're 2-0 down already or you're 3-0 down, it's game over. And you look at the players and the players are looking around going, oh, what's going on? What's going on? You're not trying. That's what's going on. It's as simple as that. And as Ten Hag said, it's unacceptable. He said, quote, it's quite simple. It's the lack of belief. When you don't believe on the pitch, then you can't win games. That is unacceptable. We get undisciplined at following rules and you get hammered. That's happened today. All credit to City, but it's nothing to do with City. Our performance was not good. It had to do with the belief as individuals and as a team. He says, when it came to halftime, of course, he made some changes at halftime. He said, quote, at halftime, we changed things and we changed attitude. We saw a different Manchester United after halftime and we scored goals. We created some more. On the ball, we were more brave and we came in the opponent's half and we scored 3 goals. When it comes about positives, we are going to talk about that a little bit later because he was asked about Anthony Martial and possibly that being a positive. But I'm not, and DJ, I think, sums this up quite well later on. We'll get to DJ's clip in a bit. But I look at, that second half where we scored 3 goals as City just took their foot off the gas. If City played with, the intensity they had in the first half, we wouldn't have got anywhere near them. Make no mistake, we scored 3 goals because City just took their foot off it a little bit. And when they decided they wanted to put their foot on a little bit more, they scored. They still scored 2 goals in that second half. They didn't need to try as hard. And again, it's that case of you have to be cautious of, obviously Martial coming on, scoring goals is great, but realistically, it's too late by that point. I don't care if, okay, great, the Manchester United side can play not under pressure because the game's gone. I want to see that when it is 0-0. I want to see that even when you're 1-0 down, you need even more fight. It's all well and good doing that when you're 4-0 down, 5-0 down, or whatever. It's too late at that point. Everyone can play or score great goals when the game's over. It's about doing it when it matters. It didn't matter at that point anymore. So I struggle to give it that much praise, to be honest with you. Now, again, we are going to talk about Cristiano Ronaldo in a second. Just a couple more quotes. Ten Hag, when he was asked what he said to the players, he said, quote, I also told the players about the lack of belief. I have seen some highlights. It was obvious we are defending not on the front foot. We let them play. In possession, we were not brave enough. Made tactical mistakes, decision mistakes, and then you get hammered. They have to accept the criticism. They showed against Liverpool and Arsenal when they perform as a team, when they bring the belief on the pitch, starting individual, we will show them and you cannot deny. And again, I think that's to me one of the biggest disappointments is that, again, I've, like Ten Hag, I have seen Manchester United this season in those games against Arsenal and Liverpool show a grit and an aggression that wasn't associated with us last season, and for us just to revert to type so quickly once again is immensely disappointing. And I think that that's my biggest disappointment for me yesterday isn't necessarily the loss, it's the manner of the defeat. It's the attitude of the players that, frankly, we started to hold to somewhat of a higher standard. And now it's just regressed. It's 2 steps forward, 1 step back. The positive, I suppose, is that we have so many games in October coming up, right? We've got 8 games left in a space of, 27, 28 days. So there's no time to really wallow and sort of have a pity party, as it were, because we've got games coming up. We've got a game coming up Thursday. So fortunately, we can put it in the rearview mirror pretty quickly. But that's not to say we should just forget about it. That's not to say we should just move on completely, because you have to reflect and say that it was a big moment. It was a big test yesterday, and we didn't pass it because we weren't good enough. In every facet, we were not good enough. And that's really disappointing. But what did Flex think about yesterday's performance? Of course, he was outside the Etihad. He was inside the Etihad, unfortunately for him, for the game. He's one of the few people that remained as people were leaving. But let's talk about, let's see rather what Flex had to say after yesterday's defeat.
Shocking today, awful today. But I want to try and just keep calm and measured so that we can dissect, what's actually happened today and what it actually means for us versus what it doesn't mean for us. I spoke before the game, when it's all said and done, I said that we had to come here, and in order to get a positive result, we had to be perfect. We had to do things properly. We couldn't be too passive. We couldn't make mistakes. We had to look after each other, and we had to believe. And literally every single thing that I listed there in that list, we didn't do. We did not do from the off. You had players not trying. It was almost like the old Manchester United. You had the players not looking after each other in terms of finding each other, passing to each other. There wasn't a hunger there to win the ball back. They just didn't believe that they could go and play and go and beat this lot here today. Because Manchester City, are a fantastic team and we're good today. But I don't even think they were at their sparkling best. They looked like they was at their sparkling best because we literally allowed them to swan about the pitch with not much pressure, not much intensity coming back, not much bark or bite coming back the other way. And we literally played like a team that hadn't won the last 4 Premier League games. We literally played like a team that didn't know each other. Now, again, I can take losing, especially early on in Ten Hag's reign, because now we need calm, now we need a reaction. And I've seen some quotes of Erik Ten Hag saying he's going to be meeting with his players and asking his players what on earth happened there. That's not the Manchester United that I'm trying to build. But most importantly, it's not the Manchester United that I've seen in the last few weeks. It's not the Manchester United I've seen on the training ground. It's not what we spoke about doing. It's almost like they went out there and the occasion overruled them and they literally reverted back to type. Now, along this Ten Hag rebuild, that can happen. That probably will happen. That might not be the first time that happens this season. Well, that's now the third time this happened this season. Second in terms of absolute trouncing. And even before Ten Hag came here last year, how many times did we say, and I've been saying it so many times, there are going to be times this season that are going to be absolutely awful. And it's about how you bounce back. And I'll talk about bouncing back in a little bit. But from what I saw today, I just saw players that just, I'm not going to say they didn't care, but I saw players that were scared and didn't play with anywhere near the level needed to come to the Etihad.
There you go. There's the thoughts of Flex outside the Etihad yesterday. Be sure to smash a like on the like button, guys. How many people we got watching? We've got over 700 people watching. Let's see how many likes we can get in. We always like to get high likes on these individual streams. It's you and I. We're in this together. So be sure to smash a like on the like button, or Mr. Phelan will have to come out. The great thing also about these solo post-match day streams, these match day reloads, is that I can get your comments up on the screen as well. So let's have a look at what you guys are saying. Joshua says, Bruno causes a lot of open spaces in between. Ten Hag needs to sit him down for a talk to be calmer. Who says, the whole team was poor, but personally, Bruno annoyed me because as an attacking midfielder, you should be accurate with your forward passes and not spamming through balls. That kills any momentum. What else you guys are saying? A lot of Bruno chat, actually. Ed T here is a member as well, so priority members chats as always. Ed T says, can't play both Jadon and Anthony in big games like this. They literally do nothing off the ball. I've seen a lot of Sancho discussion on social media as well. Horseface says Rashford before Ronaldo is just wrong. And that's the perfect segue, actually, because we are going to talk about Cristiano Ronaldo. Because Erik Ten Hag was asked after the game why he didn't bring Ronaldo on. Obviously, he brought Anthony Martial on. People were looking towards the bench, wondering if indeed Cristiano Ronaldo was going to be brought on. At some points, it kind of felt like, should he be brought on, considering the game was over and it was, 5-0 or whatever, 4-0. Is it... at that point, is it right to bring Ronaldo on? Is it respectful to Ronaldo to bring him on? And what Erik Ten Hag said was quite interesting after the game. When asked why Cristiano Ronaldo was not brought on, Erik Ten Hag said, quote, I wouldn't bring him in because out of respect for Cristiano, for his big career. And the other thing was the advantage I could bring on Anthony Martial. He needs the minutes, but I don't want to point it out like that, even though you kind of just have. So it brought up the question whether was it respectful or wasn't it respectful to not bring on Cristiano Ronaldo when you're 6-1 down? Is it the right thing to keep him on the bench? Obviously, the cameras kept panning to him, and as they always do with Cristiano Ronaldo. Roy Keane, speaking on Sky Sports, had a very different point of view on this. And it really brought up some debate in the studio, but certainly online as well. He said, quote, "I think United are just showing disrespect to Ronaldo. He should have been let go before the end of the transfer window. The manager said he's holding on to him. Okay, you need options, but you don't keep hold of Ronaldo to sit on the bench. He's one of the greatest players ever. This idea he had no options, that's rubbish. He had options. He had 4 or 5 good options. The manager brought on Martial, who scored 2, but generally speaking, the bigger picture, he's not going to play Ronaldo. We've seen him play a few European games. It's just going to get uglier as the season goes on. Okay, Ronaldo's motivated with the World Cup coming up, but if he's sitting on the bench for Man United week in, week out, it's not good. It's just going to get ugly. I think United have shown nothing but disrespect to Ronaldo, and they should have let him go when he had the chance to go. He had options. I know that for a fact. Holding on to him to sit on the bench is ridiculous for a player of his stature. Could he have brought him on? Of course he could have. So what if you're 4-0 down? You look at his goal record, it's as good as anyone for putting the ball in the back of the net. People are obsessed with the pressing side of the game, but you put the ball in the right areas and he'll score goals. So Roy Keane certainly was not having that Erik ten Hag shouldn't bring on Ronaldo out of respect for him. He also was claiming there that Ronaldo had options to leave in the summer. I would love to know what he has heard. I would love to know what those options are, because from everything that we heard, in terms of all of the reports, it felt like there was nothing out there. We've seen several, journalists come out and say there were no options on the table. There was nothing on the table for Cristiano Ronaldo. And I still do believe that if there was a credible option on the table, and I know United had the public stance of he's not for sale, he's not for sale, he's not for sale, but I still do believe if there was a credible option on the table and Manchester United could have got a replacement, Cristiano Ronaldo would have gone in the summer. I truly do believe that. I do. And I think it's interesting to talk about this aspect of disrespect, respect, about leaving him on the bench or bringing him on. At the end of the day, you're a football player. It's the manager's discretion whether he brings you on the pitch or not, or he brings you into the game or not. If the manager decides or chooses that he's going to leave you on the bench, that's the manager's call. It's not an element of respect or disrespect. And I understand that Cristiano Ronaldo is held to a higher regard, everything he's achieved in his career. That's completely fair. That's fine. But I would also say, if you brought Cristiano Ronaldo on, honestly, would Ronaldo have made a difference? And I'll put it in the chat, actually. I'll put the poll up in the chat. Would you have brought Ronaldo? Would you have brought Ronaldo on? Would you have brought Ronaldo on yesterday? I'll ask the community, because I want to get you guys' opinions on this, because I look at it as, okay, you could have brought Cristiano Ronaldo on, and if you were chasing the game and you were hoping for goals, you would think a guy who scored over 800 goals in his entire career and the goal scoring record he has, and the legend that he is, bringing him on, you would hope he would get goals. But in reality, would Cristiano Ronaldo have made a difference if he got brought on yesterday? I don't think he would have. And by that point, it's almost like, what's the point? He brought Martial on, and to Ten Hag's point, I didn't really bring him on for goals. I brought him on just to get minutes, because he's been out of action for so long. He's been injured for so long. So I just brought him on just to get some minutes in his legs. I wasn't even expecting goals. And the fact that he did bring Martial on, and he got a couple of goals, is beneficial for him and Martial going forward. It's beneficial for the team. Because you would say not only did he get minutes in his legs, but also he scored goals. Now, the fact of keeping him to sit on the bench, I understand possibly the disrespect of that, and I would say it would have been disrespectful to keep Ronaldo against his will if there were offers on the table. But I can't see, and again, unless someone can prove me otherwise, I can't see credible, legitimate options that were on the table for Cristiano Ronaldo to leave this summer. Because every club that was linked to him, whether it was Atletico, whether it was Bayern Munich, whether it was Napoli, whether it was whoever, they all came out, all of the presidents, chief executives, whoever, director of footballs for these clubs, they all came out and said, we weren't in for him. We weren't interested. I think the only legitimate offer might have been from a Saudi club. And even that's not actually confirmed. Sporting Lisbon, I think their director came out and said no, or there was rumours about the manager threatening to walk if they did indeed sign Cristiano Ronaldo. So I don't know if I fully subscribe to what Roy Keane is saying, whereby United showed him a ton of disrespect by keeping him against his will over the summer, because I don't know if there were offers there. I don't know. And as far as keeping him on the bench yesterday, could he have brought him on? Okay. But, I mean, is it just as disrespectful to bring him on? You're not going to make a difference. I'm only bringing you on because you're Ronaldo. I'm only bringing you on because of your name. I don't think you can do anything. What's worse? Bringing him on out of pity or leaving him on the bench out of pity? I don't know. It's a difficult situation. I think Ronaldo will play in the week, I would think. I think he'll play in Cyprus. Still, again, Ronaldo being this Europa League option is wild. All of these conversations about Cristiano Ronaldo are wild because he's still Cristiano Ronaldo. He's still this big name. And, it's a good point here. Show Ramen. I forgot about that. I forgot about the Chelsea links. Tuchel didn't want Ronaldo so badly. He basically lost his job over it. That's how much people didn't want him. And it's just true. By all accounts, Todd Bowley really wanted Cristiano Ronaldo, but Thomas Tuchel didn't. There was a line of clubs he was linked to, but in terms of the idea that, there were offers on the table and United turned him down just to keep him on the bench, I disagree. I disagree. Kawaku says, Owen, that's not the point. I mean, you can let me know what the point is. And Eugene King says, your Ronaldo hate is never ended. And this is the thing. Whenever you talk about Ronaldo, I have to preface this. I'm not saying Cristiano Ronaldo is a terrible player or has been a rubbish player in his career. I'm not saying that at all. I'd be crazy if I said that. You can't dispute Cristiano Ronaldo's record. You can't say that Cristiano Ronaldo hasn't achieved what he's achieved in his career. Was it 5 Ballon d'Ors? Over 800 goals. But yesterday, had he started, had he been on the pitch when we were 4-0 down, would he have been made a difference? No. He wouldn't have made a difference. It wouldn't have. If anything, and this is what's crazy about the Ronaldo situation, is the conversation always circles back to him every single time. If he'd have started yesterday and we'd have got that result, that's Ronaldo's fault. If he'd have came on yesterday, that's Ronaldo's fault. There'll be some conversation now, and I hated this over the summer, where Ronaldo's attitude is part of the problem. That is BS, and I think that is ridiculous if that gets brought up, about Ronaldo's attitude's a negative influence. Get on with it, you're professional footballers, that's nonsense. But even when he doesn't play, and he's not brought on, it's still a case of, well, maybe he should have brought on. The conversation always circles back to Ronaldo, and I guess that always will because of the stature of the player. But I don't see the Ronaldo situation getting resolved. Maybe there might be an option for him to have a way out in January. Maybe he has a decent World Cup. Maybe there is an offer on the table, because I do legitimately think if there is an offer on the table, he will go. But I don't think there was. I don't think there was an offer on the table for Cristiano Ronaldo. And keeping him on the bench, maybe it's not the best phrase to say by Ten Hag after the game of, I didn't, out of respect for him, like I don't want to bring him into a 6-1 game, it's disrespectful to him. I'm sure he would love to play, and I'm sure, he would want to play. But can you imagine the reaction of bringing the great Cristiano Ronaldo on the pitch at 6-1? They would say, oh, look how Ronaldo's fallen. And, and then that conversation, it's always a conversation. That's my point. It's always a conversation. We've got a few super chats here. Let's just double check the poll already. Just 5 minutes in, would you have brought Ronaldo on yesterday? 36% say yes, 64% say no. And again, I'd love to know the opinions, if that was out of, respect, or if it was just because the game was over. Again, my opinion, and it's all it is, it's opinion here on the channel as always. I do agree with what Ten Hag was saying, whereby, Martial just needed minutes. He didn't bring Martial on to turn the game around or change the game or anything like that. It was just a case of Martial hasn't played since Liverpool. We're gonna need him. Let's get 45 minutes, or was it 30 minutes into his legs? And then if he scores a goal, it's a bonus. And he scored 2. It was a bonus. But really bringing him on was just a case of the game's over. I just want to get some minutes into my player that I'm going to need throughout October. Super chat here from Troy Superstar. Big up Troy. He was on fire yesterday. Says, Owen, listen, I'm not having any of this. This is entirely Ten Hag's fault. He cost us the game. Not having Ronaldo on, what nonsense. Ten Hag needs to be careful. Wow, Troy really going up against Erik ten Hag. He's back once again, saying, not the player's fault, poor coaching, he should have subbed and recognised the team after 20 minutes. Ten Hag is being found out he is a static, stubborn manager. Wow, Troy's turned on Ten Hag very quickly there. I mean, I would say you have to be very, very cautious talking like that, Troy, because that goes down the route of, once again, backing the players over a manager. And I think that's incredibly weak ground to stand on, because we have seen time and time again about when you start to back players over the manager. And ultimately, I get Cristiano Ronaldo's legacy, I get his career, but you can't back him over the manager. We cannot go down that route again. Ten Hag has to be the guy. Ten Hag has to have ultimate authority and control. If Erik ten Hag didn't want to bring on Cristiano Ronaldo for whatever reason, that's his call, and we have to back the manager based on that call. You can maybe say that he was somewhat static and naive, and maybe he should have changed things earlier, and maybe some of the way that we lined up wasn't working, so in-game he should have tweaked things quicker. That's fair enough, and I think that's a fair criticism yesterday. He should have changed things, because from minute one, we were not up for it. I would also say, what would we have changed? Because that entire 11 was not up for it. It wasn't a case of, just the midfield was playing bad. Everyone was playing bad. Maybe he should have brought a player back and flooded out that midfield a little bit more, and maybe that's a fair criticism. But once we start getting down the route once again of, we got the manager's terrible because he didn't bring on Ronaldo. We can't go down that route, not again. Al Cap says Casemiro is not a Ten Hag signing. McTominay puke emoji. Wow, we're going to talk about McTominay in a bit. Troy's back once again. All of these losses have been Ten Hag not understanding gamesmanship. That's the siren for Troy. He's going crazy. Understanding gamesmanship and failing to be dynamic manager. Not the player's fault. Calling out Ten Hag. Very concerned about his judgment, not playing Casemiro and Ronaldo. Poor man. Troy is not feeling Erik ten Hag this morning. Again, I think once you start going down that route of not backing players over the manager, I think that's risky. Daniel Luciano says, game couldn't have suited Ronaldo less, to be fair. Have we got any more super chats here? I think we might do. We've got a couple, actually. Troy's back once again. Troy and Zayn Miassi, are they the same person? We might have found our Zayn here. It says, finally, it was just 3 points. So what? We are 6 points from top, and we have played better teams than City and Arsenal. No need to panic. We are winning the league. Watch the maths and don't panic. I'm watching the maths of the super chats this morning, Troy. You're on a mad one. I keep saying, what are you having? Can I have some, please? Because I want to have that same kind of mentality of we're winning the league. That is wild. And big up Tabaslow. He's been a member for 4 months. Big moderator as well. Tabaslow says, Erik ten Hag is doing the same to Casemiro as the inept Oli did to Sancho. He can destroy him this way. We are going to talk about Casemiro in just a second. So big up Tabaslow for 4 months of support. I think we're caught up with all of the super chats there. Let's go to Marcel. I spoke about what Troy Superstar was on, and it could be just a smidge of hopium. Let's see what Marcel had to say outside of the Etihad yesterday.
Do you think we can bounce back from this?
Yes, but so with Brentford, it was a thing where Ten Hag, for me personally, he looked at the team, he looked at the previous team, and he played the old last season's team. This now, he's had to, be a bit more pragmatic, understand that he can't play the Ten Hag ball. He hasn't got the right centre-backs, he hasn't got the right goalkeeper, hasn't got the right six. So he's been pragmatic, and he's still got trashed by these. So, the morale's going to be low. Players look down, players were, poor communication, poor passing, poor attitude. So it's going to be difficult, and we've had excellent home form. The next game's going to be away as well, I believe, at Everton. Yeah, Everton. And Everton's a hard ground to play again today. They were loud today, and that's going to be the exact same kind of energy that they're going to bring at Everton. But I do think we can give a performance and a draw or a win. I have to believe that, and I think Erik ten Hag would believe that. Martial, we were just saying as well, Martial comes on and scores 2 goals.
I can't believe, in a weird way, I can't believe we even scored 3 goals in the second half. It just felt like it was going to be 8-0 at half time, and I'm not saying there's something to ride home about there, but it's different. Luke Shaw comes on. Did okay considering the circumstances. Lindelof came on, did okay considering the circumstances. Yeah. Obviously, we still conceded 2 goals.
I'm gonna credit it to them, though. To be honest with you, Flex, I think they dropped off the levels. I think Pep would be vexed. Pep would be pissed off.
Allowed Anthony to do that.
Yeah, he would be angry. You're 4-0 up, 5-0 up, and you've allowed us to go and hit 3. Towards the end of the game, you've changed the whole team and everything. You need to be showing for your shirt, like how our players should have been showing for their shirt for today. But again, Scott looked a bit out of his depth. You
Is
know,
that it now? Casemiro that's it now? Because it feels like you're waiting for that. I don't want to be. You know, a lot of people say Casemiro start, but you know, I've been one person to say, look, at the end of the day, Scott McTominay's playing well, but you wait for that first game for it to go wrong. Now there's a reason for Ten Hag to look at changes, isn't there? Varane, hopefully not injured for too long now, or hopefully not a big injury. You know, that looked inevitable at some point this season. It's come now. There's a few things there that Ten Hag's got to sort out already.
Yeah, well, yes. If I moan about a few things, though, Jack Grealish was on the floor about how many times in the first half? But then Casemiro, as soon as he comes on, he's dropping on the floor, sliding on the floor to Jack Grealish's feet, and then he's beating him. And so Casemiro still has elements to his game that he still has to get right now. It's not the perfect time for me, in my opinion, for him to come in. The whole team was rubbish, and they're a class above us. So I would still maybe play Scott the next game. It's just Eriksen just didn't look like Eriksen today.
Good get into the game.
There were the thoughts of Marcel outside the Etihad yesterday. It's always sad seeing Marcel frustrated and upset talking about Manchester United. He's legitimately one of the most positive guys I know. So seeing him like that is always sad to see. I do want to talk about Rafael Varane this morning too. Of course, Varane came off in the first half yesterday. Appeared to go over on his ankle. He played on for a little bit, but then was brought off for Victor Lindelof, who came on. Of course, now it looks to be a situation we've got Harry Maguire out with an injury, and possibly Varane too, because it was reported late last night that it's a sprained ankle for Rafael Varane. He's going to be undergoing exams on Monday. That came from a report from L'Equipe, of course, French-based outlet. And if Varane's out for a long period of time, and it must be said, we don't know how long that's going to be. Clearly, he's not playing on Thursday, and I don't think he was ever going to play on Thursday. He was never going to play in the Europa League, but now we already look to next Sunday and that game against Everton. And the thing is with Varane, and when he went down yesterday, everyone had the same reaction when they went, oh no, not again. Not again. Because you just... And we've been doing that every time he's gone down, right? Every time he's been on the floor for more than 5 seconds, you think, oh no. Not again. And the injury, in watching it back yesterday, they showed like a slow motion replay, didn't they, of it? And his ankle kind of just bent round, and it did look nasty. And I don't know if that's one where I do look at it and go, is that as much Varane's fault, or is that just a bit of a freak? But the issue then becomes of he's probably not going to be available. If he was back for Everton, I would almost be surprised at this point. Chances are now it's going to be Martinez and maybe Lindelof. We don't know when Maguire's going to be back. I'm not going to say that we can't win games with Martinez and Lindelof, because I do think Lindelof's a good defender. But clearly, you know, Varane not being available is a problem, especially when you've got a busy month as we have coming up. We've got so many games, and we've got some big games coming up. So that's concerning. Of course, once we get more informational updates, obviously we'll talk about it here, but you can only hope that it's not too bad. You can only hope that possibly it's a case of maybe he's out for a couple of weeks. I just don't want to see last season where it's an injury that you think is going to be a week or a couple of weeks and it ends up being a month or ends up being 6 weeks or something like that. You know, just Kevin says, shout out to the member, says, I thought Lindelof looked good yesterday, especially on the ball. And I have seen quite a thing in the chat saying that, you know, Lindelof can do a job. And I do think so. Of course, it's a miss not having Varane in that side, clearly. But you've got Show Rahman saying the opposite. Lindelof is not a good defender. Was awful when he came on yesterday. Clearly, we would prefer to have Varane in that system, but we don't. And just again, the hope is, fingers crossed, that he's not out of action for so long. He's going to have these exams today, because if he is out for a long period of time, then it goes back to that fitness record, and it goes back to, there will be people that say, "See, I told you so. He can't stay fit for the entire season." And I think we knew that. We knew that there was going to be points where he would be injured, but it's just a case of he can't catch a break, you know, because this wasn't a case of he's running and his hamstring went. This wasn't a case of, he's pulled his calf. This was a case of the ankle just turned around. It was just a bit of a freak incident. But just as he's starting to build up a run of games for Manchester United and build up that partnership with Lisandro Martinez, it now would appear that he's going to be out for at least a couple of weeks, maybe. And that's the frustrating thing, clearly. Be sure to smash a like on the like button, guys. We've got nearly 900 people watching, still less than 200 likes. We can get up, if everyone liked right now, we'd be on like 850 likes. But I understand it's not possible, but we can get to 500. I know we can. I believe in you. We can get to 500 likes. We can smash it. This is what these individual morning shows are all about. So be sure to smash a like on the like button. Be sure to subscribe, bottom right-hand corner. As I mentioned earlier on as well, be sure to vote for us in the Football Content Awards. Links are in the video description. For 3 categories, I think. Also, the link is there to go to the website, footballcontentawards.com/voting. Voting closes this coming Sunday. You've got 6 days. So if you haven't already, be sure to vote for this there. We really do appreciate it. We've only been around for just over a year, and the journey, the growth has been incredible. Just the fact that we're nominated actually really does blow my mind, especially when you compare us to some of the other people that are in these categories with us. It's incredibly flattering, and it's amazing. And it's ultimately it's because of you. I mean, you're the ones in the first place that nominated us for those categories. And in addition to that, you're the ones that tune in every single show and every single stream. And I really enjoy the community we have here. I really enjoy the discussions, the support, and the difference of opinion. I think it's fantastic while maintaining that level of being respectful and civilized, having that dialogue. So if you haven't already, please do vote for us. We really do appreciate it. And really appreciate everyone that's tuned in this morning. We can get those likes up. Troy's back once again. Says, Owen, if Ten Hag can't manage these players, he has to go. Troy. Over 200 million spent. Stop excusing poor management. He has enough players. We could have played for a draw. You can't, Troy. He has to go. Well, first of all, clearly his job is to manage the players. But to say after how many games have we played in the Premier League? 7. If he can't manage him, he has to go. Troy. I appreciate the contribution, but Troy. I mean, I can't even... But once again, to the fans, Ten Hag has to perform or he must leave. Let's adopt the Chelsea no-nonsense approach. Let's not defend poor management. We are winning the league. Troy. We're not winning the league. We're not. Kota says Troy must be Poch. Wow. Poch has got that PSG compensation money and he's paying for super chats here on United View. Oh my goodness. What are we going to talk about next? We're going to see what DJ had to say. Let's go to see what DJ had to say. I spoke to him in the studio after the game. Here's what DJ had to say.
Yeah, we just reverted back to type, really. Ten Hag has found out today what we've known for the past few years, that this team has a very fragile mentality when presented with challenges. And we did that again today. Poor performances across the 11. And for me, we spoke with Louis as well. He said there was a couple of positives. There was no positives in this game for me. Just didn't turn up today. Respected them too much. And City just played with us, just like a cat with a bully on. So literally just was toyed with.
And I think that's the real disappointing aspect of it, isn't it? Is, as we mentioned, it's the manner, it's the fact that, we scored 3 goals, but that's after we were 4-0 down at half-time again for the second time this season. We thought we had kind of got a little bit past that after the Brentford result, but I suppose, could you say that in the same way, after that Brentford result, we said, well, that's a turning point for United. Could today be seen as a turning point, or is it still difficult to kind of digest?
I think, going forward, I'm really interested to see how much this performance, will damage the players, because they're professionals at the end of the day, and how Ten Hag's going to respond also, because, there's a lot of questions now that needs to be asked of this United team. Is the midfield quite correct? Not too sure anymore. McTominay, we always knew, as you said, you made a good quote earlier. He was kind of living game to game. We know now today this was a terrible game for him, but Casemiro didn't really do anything else much better else anyways. So there needs to be some questions. Is the midfield great? Looking at even the back four, Malacia comes off and he's been great for the last couple of games. Again, there's a big question there. Varane, is he injured? How long is he going to be out? A lot more questions are going to be posed of Ten Hag and his team going forward after this performance today. But getting back to the game, terrible performance. I just think, there's going to have to be changes. He's going to have to make some changes. He's going to have to be seen to be addressing the issues that we've seen today, because unfortunately, that can't happen again this season. That was just...
Big up DJ. That was what DJ had to say after the game yesterday, live from UVHQ. You can also go back and watch the match view yesterday. Was was an experience, certainly. I appreciate everyone that tuned in yesterday. But what I did want to talk about with what DJ said there is he said there was no positives coming out of that game. 6-3 loss. People can talk about Anthony Martial coming on and scoring goals. We scored 3 goals, but there were no positives. And I did see some people in the comments saying, wow, there were some positives. So I'm just going to put this poll in the chat now. Are there any positives? Are there any positives out of yesterday's game? Because Erik ten Hag was also asked about this and after the game. He was said, was Anthony Martial coming on, scoring a couple of goals, one being that sort of tap-in, another being a fantastic penalty, which of course he did win, was that a positive? And Ten Hag said, quote, there are also positives, but in this moment, I can't think like that. We let the fans down, we let ourselves down, and I'm hugely disappointed. We have to live with that and learn from it. So obviously, I think him coming out and saying that after the game is, if you start talking about, oh yeah, this was really positive, or this was a positive, blah blah blah, people are just going to be focused on the negative. They are going to be focused on the result. And frankly, as I mentioned earlier on in the show, I think Martial coming on and scoring was a bonus. I think him coming on and was just about minutes in his legs. And to be honest, we scored 3 goals because City took their foot off the gas. Honestly, Anthony's goal was a freak goal. I mean, I think there has to be a bit of a conversation about Anthony as well, too, that I want him, I'm begging him to take on a fullback. I am begging him to take on a fullback. There were so many times in that game where he's one-on-one with a fullback and you're saying, go on, try and go past him, try something. And it was a step over, pass it backwards. Step over, go back to Eriksen or Bruno or whoever was there. And I think Dallo might have been a bit frustrated with Anthony as well, because I'm not sure how much he was tracking back too. The goal he scores is magnificent, but I don't think that can take away with what I was looking at, particularly from both wingers, to be honest, from Sancho and from Anthony, which were poor performances. You're saying, do something, take someone on, do something. Don't just, step over, wiggle your foot a little bit and give it back. There has to be something about that. And again, and to be honest with you, when I look at Martial scoring the goals, it was great. And I don't think he's going to start Thursday. I think he'll start against Everton next weekend. But honestly, City were toying with us. City toyed with us in that second half. I think Pep will be really frustrated they conceded 3 goals, because what is wild is that it was a 6-3 scoreline, and that flatters Manchester United. We conceded 6 goals and it flatters us, because we could have conceded more. I don't think we deserved to score 3 goals as well, and ultimately it was just poor. that was it. And Martial, I guess, Martial coming on, I guess, is a positive. But I think if you look in the grand scheme of things, there really weren't any positive. Daniel Luciano with the super chat, appreciate the contribution, says, Martial and Varane must stay healthy, so important. Hopefully they can. Obviously, Varane, we don't know, and it was, again, good to see Martial back on. And it was good to see him just involved yesterday, because going into the game, prior to Ten Hag's press conference, there was a concern because we had heard nothing really about him. Just looking at the votes, or the poll, immediately in the chat, when asked, are there any positives from yesterday's loss? 39% are saying yes, I guess that being Martial, and 61% saying no. And El Caps says, ice cold, black gloves, Tony Martial, our saviour. Wow, we're entering the winter season. It's getting a little bit colder. Maybe we're going to see short sleeve with gloves on Martial, and hopefully he's going to be scoring goals for Manchester United too. Be sure to smash a like, guys, as always, and subscribe, bottom right-hand corner. We've got to look. Faz said some stuff about Erling Haaland. Let's build up this clip before I get into it. Faz says some stuff about Erling Haaland on a couple of shows here on the channel. He said that Erling Haaland was not his cup of tea. He says he doesn't like the way he plays, and he's not his cup of tea. So just not his cup of tea. And I wanted to know what tea was Faz drinking, because I'd love to know what's in it as well, because Haaland might not be Faz's cup of tea, but he's got 3 hat-tricks already this season and 1 against us yesterday. Here's what Faz had to say outside the Etihad after the loss.
Or was it just City were that good today?
Yeah, City is what City are. They have that guy, Skynet, up front. They have Skynet, they have Sonic the Hedgehog. I mean, Foden. Wow. That kid really balled out today, and I was just looking at him thinking, he's just dancing around the pitch. He feels so comfortable.
We did that, but there are teams that have come here and given Manchester City a game. You can give them a game, and that's why I wanted to just talk about us there. Because you're right, those players, they played unbelievable today. But don't you think there was an element to it that we just allowed them to have the freedom to do what they want and literally have a stroll in the park today with our own application?
But I think the first touch on the ball, the first challenge has to be perfect. Once you do that, you build from that. Our first touch on the ball, first tackle was horrible, and it's a snowball effect for us. It always has been, and this is what I said all the time. Once we go 1-0 down, can we pick ourselves back out? We can't. And you see Malacia, like ball comes to him, rolls away.
He was a rabbit in, what do they call it? Rabbit in headlights, or
he's not ready. Dallo with the challenge. Bruno giving away every single pass randomly to someone. Rashford, not finding the ball at times. Sancho as well, trying his best. It's just, it didn't work, and it just kept getting bad to worse. We need to start these games 100% and make the first minute count. It's like that important. The first minute has to count, and we have to do something from the first minute, and we didn't. And he just went. And City, man, fucking hell, man, this guy, man, he's just there, and they find him. It's like second nature to him.
It's what he does.
It's second nature to them.
Listen, we've just lost heavily to them. I don't want to be out here saying how good Haaland is or whatever, but at the end of the day, we just saw with our own eyes what he did in it. We can leave it there because it's true. Like some of the thing, De Bruyne's passed to him. I'm just thinking, it's
just easy.
It's what it is. Yeah.
It's easy.
Because that's the quality. But that's the quality they possess. If you allow them to do that, I just feel that it was a mixture between their level being so high and us just not giving enough. Like our counter, we were clearly trying to counter-attack. That's how we try and play against City. We did it against Liverpool, we did it against Arsenal. And I said before the game, we have to be even better than that to implement that plan. And you can talk about implementing the tactics and stuff.
Yeah.
But when you don't do the basics right, you're done. You're toast. And we just didn't do the basics right for 95%.
The views of Faz there talking about Erling Haaland, and look, you got to acknowledge when you're wrong, and in fairness, I think he did that there. Marcel's in the chat as well, says, I have to put this result behind us, Owen. Everton next week, Pep 6 years, Ten Hag 3 months. Score was 6-3. We are in a process that will take years to catch them. The concern, I suppose, is, Marcel, is that can we catch them? Can we catch them whilst Pep Guardiola is their manager? I don't know if we can. I agree with you. It's going to take a long, long time for Manchester United to get anywhere near that conversation of a Manchester City. I think, we need stability at the club. This is my point earlier, that whatever decision Ten Hag makes, we have to back. And to flex his point too, he's been saying this for months, not even just yesterday. He said it before Ten Hag was even in Manchester. He said there are going to be points this season that are going to be really difficult. There are going to be really bad results that are going to hurt. And we have to just try and remain as calm as possible, continue to back the manager, and say that this is part of the process. Some of these players still aren't good enough. The mentality is still incredibly fragile. It's not going to get turned around in 3 months. And even when it is going well, we can't get too ahead of ourselves then. But moments like yesterday have to be a learning experience for both Ten Hag and also the players, but particularly Ten Hag, of how much he can trust certain players for big moments in pressurized situations, because that's what United didn't do yesterday. They didn't manage the pressure. Yasir says, so you don't believe Roy Keane, who is the most honest player I know. So honest, he lost his United career over it. Erik Ten Hag needs to take responsibility. I'm not saying that I don't believe Roy Keane, Yasir, and appreciate the contribution as always. I would just love to know what these offers are that he was saying. He was saying, I know for a fact there were offers on the table. What offers were they? Because I will hold my hands up 100%. If it's put out there or it's proven that Manchester United had, or Cristiano Ronaldo had an offer on the table from Atletico or from Napoli and it could have worked, then Manchester United should have let him go. But I don't believe there were offers on the table, that legitimate offers from clubs he could have gone to. I don't. And again, it's the manager's choice and discretion about who he decides to play or not. And I don't think Ronaldo would have made a difference yesterday. I don't. Or bringing him on would not have turned the game around. I don't. And when it came to a point where the game was already lost, you weigh up, do I bring Ronaldo on because he's Cristiano Ronaldo and he's earned it and he deserves it? Or do I bring on Anthony Martial, who hasn't played for 6 weeks, 2 months, however long it's been, and just get minutes in his leg because I'm going to be starting him later on this season or later on this month? I think that's what it came down to. Yassir says, back the manager, but when he gets something wrong, call it out. Stop being biased towards him or players all the time. Well, I'll acknowledge, Yassir. I said before that I agree with some of the criticism yesterday that maybe Ten Hag should have changed things earlier on, and possibly he was naive. And should he have learnt from the Brentford situation? Yeah, and he did, because we then went on a winning run. And my hope is that he'll learn from this experience yesterday as well. Maybe he does need to tweak things differently or needs to change things differently. I don't think, legitimately, I think most United fans to a T, and obviously there's different opinions, but I think most United fans yesterday, when they saw that starting 11, they were pleased with it, because why would you change it? If Cristiano Ronaldo had started yesterday, people would have gone, oh, what's going on there? Why did Cristiano Ronaldo start? They were happy that Rashford was starting yesterday. The manager, everyone would have picked that side yesterday. They would have, because that was the winning side. It's very easy to say in hindsight now of, oh, he picked the wrong team. Yeah, clearly he picked the wrong team. We lost. But everyone was celebrating that starting lineup yesterday. That's the situation, in my opinion. But appreciate the contribution as always, Yassir. Finally, I do want to get to this clip of player ratings, because I do want to talk about Casemiro and McTominay. So let's get to this clip from the player ratings outside the Etihad yesterday.
Midfield, Scott McTominay.
Oh man, another one of those people. We were talking about Rashford's poor pass. You know, we trusted Scott in that position to start the build up, and then he's making a 2 combination passes, then loses the ball as well again in the first half. Wasn't stamping his authority on this game as well. Again, just looked out of his depth. One of those players today that looked out of his depth. So a 2.
Was that the one where where people are it's Casemiro, when's he going to play, etc., and you're kind of saying, well, you're sure that Ten Hag will look at it when something goes wrong in that area and look towards Casemiro. Do you think that might be now off the back of that, or do you think he just tries to get confidence out of them again? But then the next game is midweek against Omania, so
yeah. So if we're talking about Premier League games, Flex, I actually don't think he will change it. I think he'll go with the same. I think he wants to see a reaction from them. I think that's more of a Scott McTominay game against Everton, where there's fighting combativeness needed. And he needs to learn from this. We were out of our depth here. They clearly are superior to us. So I think Ten Hag might balance that out, and he'll keep the team the same.
McTominay, what are you giving him out?
Yeah, 2, man. 2.
Paul?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. He was supposed to be the crucial player for us today, controlling Kevin De Bruyne, using that physicality of his, but he came off earlier, so he didn't play that full 90. So yeah, not happy with him.
Christian Eriksen.
Man, he was missing all game. He was missing. Couldn't find the tempo, couldn't get the ball to anyone. At times he had to drop in, and we almost played like 5 at the back at times. And I think he, as soon as he had the ball, Man City did what they had to do is close in on him straight away and don't let him look up and find anyone, because that's what he's good at doing. And again, who do you blame, right?
The only good thing he did was I think he's the one who pings it to Anthony.
Yeah.
And then Anthony takes that touch, comes inside, but he still had a lot to do from the pass. But other than that, you're right.
Yeah, but Eriksen, we know what he can do. Yeah. Again, 2 from me. 2, 3 from me.
You going with that as well? 2?
I'll go with the 1.
Yeah.
Yeah, 1.
We always give Eriksen the credit. Like, Eriksen does what he's got to do. Just plays the simple passes, the easy balls. But today it was just quiet from him. We didn't see any.
So there you go, a bit of a discussion point about Casemiro and Christian Eriksen. I do want to touch on Casemiro before we wrap things up. So Ten Hag was asked about Casemiro not starting yesterday. Of course, he hasn't started any games in the Premier League for Manchester United. And Erik Ten Hag said, quotes, "On the day we signed him, we started to win. The team was doing well. It's not against Casemiro, it is for Scott McTominay. I'm sure he will be important for us. In the short term, he will find himself in the team, but it has to come in a natural way." And obviously, I think after yesterday's performance, you could argue that Casemiro will now find himself in the side in the Premier League. I expect Casemiro to start against Everton. I actually expect McTominay to start on Thursday in Europa League. And I think McTominay was going game to game, frankly. I just don't think Ten Hag, realistically, had a good enough reason to drop McTominay out of the side. Apart from, you could say, based on what they've done in their career. But it's Ten Hag's clearly a manager where it's, what have you done for me lately? And McTominay was playing well. Yesterday, he didn't play well. I would also say that Casemiro came on and didn't play particularly well either. But I think given the fact that we signed him for 70, nearly 80 million, was it 70 million? I think it was actually, he will start games now. He will start against Everton, I believe. McTominay was having a good patch of games. And again, I go back to what I was saying just a few minutes ago. I think that Manchester, the majority of United fans, certainly I can speak for myself, I suppose not others, saw that team that was selected yesterday and were fairly confident or happy with that side. In retrospect, it's now easy to say that Ten Hag got the selection wrong and maybe he should have started certain players. But that's easy to say after the game happened. Should he have made changes earlier? Possibly. Yes, and maybe he was too naive in that one. Maybe he should have made some tactical changes earlier. The issue is that they were City were 2-0 up after how many minutes? 20 minutes. That was that was the issue. And my hope is, I suppose, in conclusion here, is that in the same way that Ten Hag learned from that loss against Brentford and we bounced back, is that he learns from that result yesterday and bounces back. We've got a busy October. We've got a lot of games in a short period of time, and United really need to learn from it. That's the situation. They have to learn from that result and that performance yesterday. So there you go, guys. Great show as always. Appreciate you guys keeping me company and joining me this morning. Be sure to smash a like on the like button. Be sure to subscribe, bottom right-hand corner. Remember, you can vote for us in the Football Content Awards as well. Links in the video description. There's also the pinned comment in the live chat. You've got 6 days, only 6 days to vote for us in there. So if you haven't already, be sure to vote for us. You can also join the UV Members Club. Links in the video description. You get your badges, emojis, and exclusive access to UV Raw, a behind-the-scenes look at the day-to-day goings-on at United View. We actually filmed some stuff yesterday, so hopefully soon, within the next couple of weeks, the episode for this week's game will come out. I think the next episode is scheduled to come out is actually the Arsenal episode, which was a lot of fun, especially with all of the stuff that I was giving Josh the day after. So you can see all of that on UV Raw if you're a member of the UV Members Club. Anyway, guys, I'm out of here. Have a good Monday, and I'll speak to you again very soon. Peace.